All right, fine. You asked, so let's talk about what would actually happen if you somehow got your hands on a spoonful of a neutron star.
Look, I'll just save you the suspense right now. Physics says this is a profoundly, catastrophically, unreservedly bad idea. But since you're so curious, let's walk through exactly why it's such a terrible, terrible plan.
So, first things first. The most immediate and, frankly, obvious problem here is the sheer ludicrous density of this stuff. You're holding this magical, indestructible spoon, right? It now has one single teaspoon of neutron star matter in it, and that one teaspoon weighs 6 billion tons.
Now, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around a number that big, so let's try an analogy. Imagine taking the entire mass of Mount Everest, and I mean everything, all the rock, all the ice, every single climber that never made it down.
And then crushing all of that down into something the size of a sugar cube. The bottom line here, you can't lift it. You can't even nudge it. The thought experiment is pretty much already over.
But let's say you cheat. Let's say you magically teleport it onto your kitchen table. Well, it's not going to just sit there. The sheer weight would make that table cease to exist. As the source material puts it, the legs would snap like explosive powder. Poof, no more table.
Okay, so you lost a table. That's just property damage. Let's move on to something a little more personal. A fatal attraction, you could call it. The problem of gravity.
So, the spoon is now on your floor. Or, more accurately, it's at the start of a hole where your floor used to be. What happens if you try to get close to it? To try and complete the ridiculous premise of this whole question.
This brings us to a fun little physics concept called tidal forces. Basically, it's what happens when gravity pulls on one side of an object way more strongly than the other, which causes it to stretch out. You see this with the moon and Earth's oceans. We're about to see it on a much, much smaller and more, well, gruesome scale. Yeah, this is where things get truly violent. That tiny spoonful has so much mass, so much gravity packed into it that its tidal forces are actually stronger than the electrochemical bonds holding your body together. To put it bluntly, if you were to lean down to get a closer look, the gravity pulling on your chin would be so much stronger than the gravity pulling on the back of your head that, well, it would just rip your head off. You'd be dead before you even got close.
So, you're dead, but the chaos you've unleashed is far from over. The disaster is just getting started. Which brings us to our next problem, dropping it, which, let's be honest, was going to happen anyway. At this point, the ground isn't even a barrier. To something this insanely dense, the entire planet's crust might as well be a light fog, and the spoon is a speeding bullet. It offers practically zero resistance. So the spoon falls, and it does not stop. It punches a clean hole straight through the Earth, and it'll just oscillate back and forth through the core for a while. All that friction, it flash vaporizes solid rock into plasma. And the result of that? A supersonic geyser of magma erupts from the hole it just created, right there in the middle of your kitchen. Congratulations, your home is now an active volcano. Okay, so let's recap. You're dead, your house is a volcano, and you've possibly doomed the planet. But believe it or not, your problems are still not over. It's time to talk about the bureaucratic fallout. Yep, putting aside the whole being dead thing and the magma geyser in your kitchen, you are now in some serious legal trouble. You have introduced the celestial object to the planet, you've caused, and this is the understatement of the century, extensive damage, and by doing so, you have broken international law. Specifically, and I am not making this up, this is a real document, you have violated the 1972 Convention on International Liability for damage caused by space objects. So your estate is now legally on the hook for all that magma damage. Honestly, good luck with that insurance claim. I'm pretty sure Act of God doesn't cover willful negligence with an object of basically infinite density. And you thought your premiums were bad before you installed a permanent gateway to the Earth's mantle in your living room. So the big takeaway here is, just don't. Please, for the love of physics, don't. Which really only leaves one final thing to ponder. What other simple questions are hiding such utterly catastrophic answers?